Hello, this is Daniel Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide. Yesterday, April 13th, CIG began a one-week free fly event planned to last until April 20th. This follows the release the day before, on the 12th, of 3.18.1 to the live environment. Now, this is quite unique because it is, to my recollection, the only time CIG is having a free fly event driven by the engineering side rather than the marketing side. First, what's going on with this? Well, 3.18 has been a disastrous launch to the live environment. We all know that. What worked after a long Uacati and open PTU broke badly and often when subjected to the load of a highly anticipated live release. And one thing that it drove home is that particularly with 3.18, what works at one user count load may well not work at all at a higher load level. 3.18.1 represents lots of hours of optimization and bug fixing, and CIG has been giving it both live and synthetic load testing to see if it can be made to handle it. But with dual wipes on the horizon and many frustrating crashes and hangs, getting large numbers of users interested in putting in testing hours has been hard, even with the usual carrots of running server events like XenoThreat. And synthetic loads never completely mimic user loads in a complex environment, and MMOs are about as complex a data environment as anyone could hope for. So their conclusion was that the only way to truly see if their hard work on optimization and bug fixing could handle a free fly event level of load would be to do a free fly event. Essentially, think of it as a semi-dry run for the Invictus launch week free fly that would be happening soon. But this will be a strange one, because it is being driven by the engineering side rather than marketing, and because of the shadow of it not working and being able to handle a free fly event load, there won't be quite as much of the usual marketing stuff that accompanies a free fly week, like ship specials and such. There is, of course, has to be some, since a secret free fly week wouldn't work at all. The ships available to the free fly users are the current best starter ship, the Mustang Alpha, the pickup truck of the verse, the Nomad, and its companion hover bike made to go with it, the Hover Quad, the sleek and minimalist 100i, plus the Razor Racer. Coming into this, I would have bet on them including the Vulture, so the free fly players could check out the new salvage capability and cargo grid, but apparently the direction the test team wants the free fly players to take is the basic beginners missions. Plus, apparently, racing. There is also the usual free fly referral bonus, and this time it's a good one. Both the player and the referrer will get a Merlin, also a very competent racer, although it does miss the quantum drive, so it has to be hauled around from location to location in something else. So if you're going to consider joining following this free fly event, it is definitely worth your while to use somebody's referral code. And if you want one with extra bonus maximum gravitas, mine is star CPG6 5 NPL. That's star CPG6 5 NPL. Now, I did try out 3.18.1 build as soon as it came out, and it does seem to be working well, except for some texture issues that were easily resolved by following the standard advice of deleting the texture cache from the user folder, which in my haste to test out the new build, I had skipped doing. Anyway, with the basics out of the way, I thought I would go into a bit of why this load testing of this build is so important. In fact, the success of this load testing might be one of the most critical moments in the entire history of the project. That may sound like hyperbole, but it isn't. I don't do hyperbole. The reason is the entity graph database. The entity graph database is what makes long-term persistence possible, and having it work well is what will allow the shard player limits to grow. There are two entity graph databases. The first is the global entity graph database, which is where the standard version of the verse resides, and where your stuff that is stored in ships and inventories goes when you log out, so it is feasible for you to move from one shard to another shard. The second is the shard-specific entity graph database, which is managed by the replication layer, and which you work with while you are actually playing in the game. So there are two major forms of load on the shard-specific entity graph database. There is the constant hammering of players doing things in the verse, moving, dropping, destroying, creating, whatever. And then there are the large bulk actions of moving everything stored about a player to the global entity graph on logout and moving it back in when they log in. Both have to work well, and we have seen examples of each of them not working well. When you interact with something and it takes a long time to respond, then it is the former. The 4000 series errors and such when logging in are the latter. And the complexity is that although they are separate types of problems, they both involve the responsiveness of the local entity graph database. In other words, if one activity that interacts with the shard-specific entity graph database hammers it, then everything else also has problems. Thing A sneezes, and the whole game gets a cold. That is why this has been so hard to solve and sometimes seems like everything is broken, when in fact it is more likely everything is affected because one thing is broken. I hope this gives you an idea of why this has been a difficult thing to track down all of these problems. But then, why is this so crucial to the future course of the project? You see, this is not CIG's first shot at accomplishing large-scale persistence. The first was called Pcache, and it was dropped because it could not handle high transaction rates under load at scale. Pcache was to be replaced with iCache, which was touted as far superior to Pcache, but was also dropped because, yet again, it could not handle high transaction rates under load at scale. To a database engineer, those words mean this. High transaction rates is how fast it takes to make a secure, recoverable change to the database. Under load means with a large number of them being asked essentially all at the same time, and at scale means on a large database. You can't call a database enterprise class unless it could stand up to all three of those. And now, what are we doing with the free fly on 3.18.1 to see? If the entity graph can handle high transaction rates under load at scale. If they can't get that figured out, then server meshing or not, the shard player limit cannot grow and the verse will just get sparser and sparser of players as it increases in size. Should we be worried because of what we have seen so far and with the prior failed solutions? Maybe, or maybe not. We know that Star Citizen uses Amazon Web Services. And if you research AWS Enterprise Class Graph Database Services, you come up with something called AWS Neptune. CIG hasn't said that they are using Neptune for the entity graph, but it is hard to look at the AWS suite of services and see a different candidate. And on the positive side, Amazon does some pretty impressive things with Neptune. Would you like a demonstration? Activate your speakers and turn the volume up. Alexa, order me 12 dozen ribbed latex condoms overnight. Now, if you had a sudden moment of panic because that might have been heard not by a person, but by your television, or watch, or speakers, or tablet, or thermostat, then you have seen AWS Neptune in action. Because yes, Alexa uses Neptune. And you can imagine the transaction load that requires for the hundreds of millions of Alexa-enabled devices out there. So there is plenty of reason for optimism, presuming that a sufficiently optimized configuration can be found. And so we test, and fail, and test again. Yeah, as so many others have said, it's alpha, you know. Now, for an update on our giveaways. First, we have a 10,000 subscriber thank you giveaway for the LTI Hull C, that colossal cargo container carrying craft to be given away when the C goes live, and the big annual ship giveaway for the winner's choice of the Galaxy Complete, the massive modular mining moving medical machine, or the Banu Big Box Bargain Bazaar Nose Emergentman. One entry per video for both giveaways. Just be a member and be entered automatically, or otherwise be a subscriber and comment, somehow including the secret word. And the secret word for this video is what you might want to be sure isn't being shipped to your house right now. Fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Daniel Raymond for Ray's Guide.